What's happening, CSTers? Welcome to the big show this Monday evening. We are glad you are with us here to talk FC Cincinnati soccer. The orange and blue over the weekend drawing 2-2 with Nashville SC in the MLS season opener. So we will discuss that match and a whole bunch more here this evening on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Again, we're so glad you're with us here on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. If you're watching us live, make sure you hit us up on Twitter at Cincy Soccer Talk. And of course, if you're listening after the fact, you can always email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Before I can welcome in my guys for this week, I have to mention Madeira Optical. They're a big supporter of what we're doing here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Dr. Melinda Pence is the second owner managing optometrist in 65 years. Melinda and Lane are co-founders of Cincinnati Eyeworks, an eyewear collection launching in the spring/summer of 2021, Timeless Cincinnati style. They've got 3 eye doctors on staff, Dr. Melinda Pence, Dr. Jennifer Kritzer, as well as Dr. Kaylee Stout, who specializes in pediatric eye care. Eyewear and sunglass brands including Nike, Kate Spade, Oliver Peoples, Tom Ford, and Cincinnati Eyeworks. The Pences, as I've mentioned in weeks past, they are huge soccer fans and a great soccer family, and they're very passionate about the sport here in Cincinnati. So make sure you go check them out over at MadeiraOptical.com, where you can book your appointments online, or you can also follow them on social media at Madeira Optical. All right, let's welcome in my guys for this week. I will start with the professor, Jeff Wallner, fresh off his trip to Nashville himself, Nash Vegas, or what we call bachelorette party capital of the USA. What's going on, Jeff? How are you?
Well, I did not get run over by a pedal wagon or a motorized scooter, so that's always that's a success in Nashville. So, no, it was great. It's always good to go to Nashville. It's one of my favorite cities in the country. I love of some of the more trendy neighborhoods in that town. Lots of good music, not just country. Major misconception. So yeah, it was great. Enjoyed it. Got to Third Man Records, which was one of my favorite vinyl stops in the country, and got some barbecue, and most importantly, got to see some FC Cincinnati soccer. So yeah, it was all good.
Well, we're glad to have you with us tonight, Jeff, so we can get your thoughts. Again, you had a firsthand account of what happened down there in Nashville. So looking forward to getting your thoughts as well. We also welcome back to the show, Mr. Roster Analyst himself, Mr. Hashtag Demand Better, Ken Hetker. What's going on, Kenneth? What's the frequency?
What's the frequency, Kenneth? Yeah. I'll tell you what, I didn't have as much fun as Jeff. I was locked in his trunk and he forgot all about me. So I was just staying in the back of his car all weekend long. I'm just kidding. He didn't take me to any of the cool stuff. So I need to learn all about those places when I go back down to Vegas, to Nash Vegas, and catch some of that stuff. So, but no, hey, we got a point. 1 game, 1 point. We're ahead of schedule right now, right? So, happy to be here, and we'll talk about it. Talk about the game some more.
Yeah, absolutely. And last but certainly not least, it wouldn't be an FCC, or I should say Cincinnati Soccer Talk, without the Wolfman.
Hey,
Wolf. Bill, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, soccer. I didn't go down to Nashville, but certainly had my fill of soccer up here in the tri-state, the Queen City. Did a King's Hammer blue chip showcase for the women this weekend. So, 3 days of a little bit of rain and a lot of sun. I'm actually a little toasty up here. But yeah, it was great. 36 hours, 3 days at 12 hours a day, and just hundreds and hundreds of players everywhere. Thousands of players. Yeah. We figured something around like 5,000 cars a day came through Voice of America Park. So yeah, a lot of soccer. And then, of course, King's Hammer FC, kind of making the news with their new club. I picked up my season tickets today. They're going fast. So if you're interested in them, you better reach out quick, or you're not going to be able to see any games this season, because I think they're probably 70 to 80% sold out at this point.
Yeah, you got to get them quick.
Yeah.
Remind me, I believe don't we have a promo code?
We do, and I'd have to check Twitter to know what it is. But yeah, I think we can get you 10% off if you use the promo code. So check out Cincinnati Soccer Talk Twitter at Cincy Soccer Talk, and somewhere in there, in our past messages, there is a message with that code.
Yeah, and we'll definitely clarify that sometime before the end of the show. That way you can get your season tickets to King's Hammer FC. and use that hashtag or not that hashtag, that promo code to get a discount on your tickets. So glad to have you back on the show, Bill. Excited to get your thoughts on what went down this weekend in Nashville. So let's recap the match before we get into our best and worst. FC Cincinnati gets on the board early. I mean, early. I don't know if we've scored a goal this early in Major League Soccer, in our Major League Soccer history. 8 minutes in, they get on the score sheet, courtesy of a Luciano Acosta goal from Ronald Matarrita. And then 4 minutes later, Brenner brought down in the penalty box after Ken's favorite VAR review. FC Cincinnati are gifted a second opportunity at goal, and Brenner converts the penalty kick to make it 2-0. And then it was like it all went downhill after that. FC Cincinnati hung on, clung for dear life. They gave up a goal in the 20th minute to Yonder Cadiz to make it 2-1. They went into the halftime locker room, again, peppered with shots. Teton stood on his head. The defense just didn't have a we'll just say a very good night, shall we? So then in the second half, Randall Leo ties it up at 64 on a cross. It was a cross. Let's just face it. It was a cross. It was not a shot. It was a cross. But it goes into the far post 2-2. And again, as we mentioned, FC Cincinnati hung on for absolute dear life. But in the end, on the road, they get a point in their season opener at Nashville, a playoff team from a year ago. So there's a couple of ways to look at it, which we will certainly do here in just a moment. It's time now for our best and worst, brought to you by Fast Signs Central Cincinnati. Fast Signs Central Cincinnati. They install and fabricate everything from banners to illuminated building signs. Fast Signs Central Cincinnati is a preferred partner of Xavier Athletics, and they work with many high school, college, and pro sports teams in Cincinnati, including Cintas Center, Nippert Stadium, Paul Brown Stadium, Great American Ballpark, the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, Fifth Third Arena, and others. Stop in a Fast Signs on Highland Avenue next to Lowe's in Oakley and tell Mike Williams CST sent you. Visit them online, fastsigns.com/352, or on social media at fastsigns352. All right, Jeff, you were there. Give me your best and worst from Saturday night against Nashville SC.
Well, the best is rather obvious, especially if you saw the MLS Team of the Week that came out today. But T-Tone was just outstanding in goal. He was challenged pretty much the entire night. 11 saves, and really in large part, quite literally saved FC Cincinnati and helped them secure a point, considering the number of shots that he was facing. But, I'm going to take it a step further with him, though. There were some things that, and I don't know how well it showed up on TV or if the cameras caught most of it, but he was also very demonstrative in goal. There were a few. Oh,
we saw it.
Yeah, there were a couple of instances where he was not at all pleased with the defense in front of him. There was a free kick that, and we can talk in more detail later on, but there was a free kick or a corner that was conceded off a free kick, and he was not happy with someone. He did not say after the game specifically who, but yeah, I think he really did his part. He certainly put in a shift, and he was definitely the best of the night. As far as worst, I'm kind of going back and forth with a couple of guys. I saw, Nashville really got a lot done on the right side against Joe Jow in particular. But I think I'll go with, and this might be unfair because it's his first match in a new position. But he's being counted on there by Jaap Stam, and that's Yuya Kubo. I just didn't think he looked comfortable going forward. He didn't look comfortable in that role. When he had the opportunity to go forward, he would turn and play the ball back quite often. He didn't really create a lot of action or have really any touches at all in the Nashville end. So I'll have to go with him as my worst.
All right, we've got a couple here in the chat. So if you're watching us live, make sure you chime in on YouTube. Jim says his worst, our passing as a whole, and his best, Brenner and Acosta in their debut. Hard to argue as far as the best there. Both of them getting on the score sheet for FC Cincinnati. Before I get to you, Ken, Jeff Tebbets brings this up, and I mentioned this on the watch along on Saturday night. He says this game felt like the away game at Columbus in 2019. A quick 2-0 score and a 2-1 halftime lead, only to blow it in the second half and cling to a point by the skin of their teeth. Kind of a carbon copy from that match, but best and worst for you, Ken?
I'm actually going to steal Jim's statement there of Brucho, basically. Brenner and Lucho. Yeah, I mean, the combination, you can tell. I find it funny. They know each other, and the fact that they have built this rapport with one another in such a short time is amazing. So I think we have positive things to look forward to from that aspect of the attack. So I'm going with the Brucho as the positive. The negative is honestly that the entire second half we just had no possession. So again, we can break it down later, but that's just it was disappointing that we had it seemed like we had no functioning team the second half of the game. So that's my negative.
All right. Bjorn in the chat says, best, we scored. Worst, we have no defense. Interesting. Bill, what are your thoughts? Best and worst?
So, going into this game, I think we anticipated that, we had some high caliber attacking pieces and that we were going to see that we were finally threatening, right? That we weren't the team that got the ball and then the opponent decided, oh, this is a good chance for us to take a break because Cincinnati's got possession. That was obviously a hope going into this. And then we also knew that defensively we were going to struggle. We saw that in the preseason. We saw that we were giving up some goals. We haven't seen a lot of activity in the back end. We've talked about bringing in center backs, and we haven't seen that happen. Obviously, we have Viacia signed, but he's not here. So the anticipation would be that we'd have some attacking moments and we'd struggle defensively. And I think it's positive and maybe at some level at best to say that from an attacking standpoint, we've improved. We certainly are now threatening as we anticipated we would be. But I think for me, the worst is not simply that the defense was bad. The worst was the fact that the way we broke that up wasn't moments of attacking and moments of defense. It was, we came out for 12 minutes and we looked like a phenomenal team. And then for 78 minutes, we did nothing but defend. I mean, that's just not the way we would have anticipated that would have happened. It should not have been 12 minutes of FC Cincinnati quality and then 78 minutes of, holding onto your socks and hoping that, you don't get knocked off your feet. And that's essentially what it was. We need to break this up into a way that we can continue to threaten through all 90 minutes and actually have some sort of teeth during our counterattacks.
Fair enough. If I had to give a best, my best would go to, you know what? I'll go to Brenner, right? I mean, look, that's not easy on your debut with a new club on the road to step up and take the penalty kick. I mean, I know there's a reason why FC Cincinnati spent, almost $14 million to get this guy. So he better be the one taking the penalty kicks, but he got up there, stepped right up and put it home. So that was my best. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more shots on target for sure. So I guess from my worst standpoint, we knew that Nashville was going to pour it on, right? And the fact that FC Cincinnati was just soaking up that pressure and they were getting deeper and deeper towards their own goal, where the counterattack was just non-existent. So there were a couple times when Zhao is breaking up the pitch and plays either the wrong ball or keeps the ball for too long, and we ultimately don't get any chance from it. Same thing with Matarita. Pass goes astray. Or, he's caught all the way up the field and now Nashville's breaking the other way. So from a counterattack standpoint, I was really expecting a little bit more. And I know that there's a reason why they went out and got Atanga, a guy who just absolutely is a burner. So he can be that release valve when FC Cincinnati, is able to retrieve the ball in their own half and they need to break on the counter. So that was for me. I guess I was just a little bit disappointed on the counterattack. And Ken, you kind of smiled and leaned your head back there. I'm assuming you agree with that.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I was just, Bill summed it up perfectly. It's like, you look for and I tweeted it out. You look for a style of play in this game. We can be happy with coming away with a point. I am ecstatic with coming away with a point. I would been happy with that. Just, it's the style of play, and giving up 35 shots to 7. I think it was the biggest goal or differences in shots in the entire league. In fact, I don't think another team got more than 24 shots off. So 25, we gave up a difference of 25 more shots than we even took. But yeah, it's just disappointing that the style of play isn't there, at least not at a level in which I expected at this point. I'm not saying I expected it to be perfect, but I didn't expect it to be so dysfunctional, I guess, this early on. So it'd be nice for us to see us pass out of the back to a midfield out to the wing, and we're on the break and we maintain possession for a good 45 seconds after that instead of 4 or 5 seconds. That's basically what transpired last Saturday.
Yeah. And I know, Jeff, you were there. You had a chance to chat with Jaap Stam a little bit after the match, but what was his mood? I mean, was he happy with the point? Was he maybe? I mean, again, you had a 2-0 lead, or was this more a case of 2 points dropped?
Yeah, Jaap Stam was very happy with the point. He spent a lot of time talking about Nashville. He talked about how FC Cincinnati is largely a new group of players. He pointed out that Nashville has a lot of their players back from a playoff team a year ago. He kind of harped on that a little bit, that it was a difficult opponent to play, your first game on the road in front of fans, and that he was proud of the way that the team fought for the point. He, as far as his criticisms of the performance, he mentioned that they were just giving the ball up. They were giving the ball up to Nashville in dangerous areas, losing the ball and creating an attack for them, creating danger for FCC in giving the ball up in areas where they struggle to find their defensive shape, and then all of a sudden you're back on your heels again, and that just happened continually. So he did bring that up, but he talked a lot about the club's resolve and resiliency, and them being able to fight for a point against a good opponent on the road.
Yeah. Well, those were our best and worst. We want to hear from you, FC Cincinnati fans. Make sure you email us feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Our best and worst brought to you by Fast Signs. Again, go check them out at FastSigns352 on social media and FastSigns.com/352 for all your sign needs. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout out and thanks to our tremendous supporters. So let's give it up to Tim Bronsel and Tom Rose, Matt Adamczyk, Mike Hudson, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, Joe Coling, Tara Mullins, Riley, Stephen Burke, and Melissa Bingle. Thank you so much for supporting us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more on how you can support the show, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. This portion of CST is brought to you by Rhinehouse. It's that time of the year. Premier League. What's left of the Premier League is wrapping up after this weekend's news with do we even want to bring up Super League? Anyway, it's brought to you by Rhinehouse. Go check them out. They are the only sports bar in the city's best soccer bar in Over the Rhine. They have 15 TVs ready to show you pretty much any match you're looking for. They open 15 minutes before Premier League matches on weekends. So grab your coffee and donuts and see if you can get there before sunrise. As an official FC Cincinnati pub partner, Rhinehouse is going to be the place to be before and after home matches. They're just a short 15-minute march to West End Stadium. They've got some big news in the works for FC Cincinnati fans, so stay tuned and follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rhinehouse OTR. So let's talk about the starting lineup, gents. We know that FC Cincinnati acquired an international spot on Friday to get what we say roster compliance. I'll tell you what, Friday was like Ken's Christmas. Roster compliance is his day. And even he is very confused on what the hell is going on with these Major League Soccer roster rules. But they acquired an international spot, Ken. They made a trade with Portland Timbers for $225,000 in GAM. Ultimately, this international spot was just because they are in need of Calvin Harris on this roster right now.
That is correct. We needed that, and you say it's my Christmas. I'm laughing at that. I don't know if I'm Jewish or Christian at this point in time, so I don't know if I'm Christmas or Hanukkah. I'm sitting there. I like you said, I don't understand what Gerard's doing and what MLS is allowing at this point in time. But yeah, I think it was to allow Calvin Harris on. I think Michael Vanderwerf still has an international status, and Franco Kovacevic, whatever, is on IR, so his international spot may not count against us. So I don't want to get into all that because nobody cares about all that. Point is we're roster compliant right now. I think Gustavo needs an international spot when he comes back, so we're going to see what kind of magic they can do with this lineup. So,
and maybe when they get here, we might have news on potential green cards. We don't really know either. It's a crapshoot. It's Major League Soccer. They fly by the seat of their pants sometimes when it comes to this roster stuff. But as far as the starting lineup, Ken, did anything stand out to you? Were you surprised by this lineup rolled out by Yapstam?
I wouldn't say I was surprised by the lineup. I mean, I think we all saw it coming. We knew Loco was injured, so he wasn't going to probably get the start on left wing, but he came in for Calvin Harris, who both of them were not very impressive. And I think we knew Joe Jow, and we knew who the back line was going to be for sure. Yeah. I think the only question mark was really Kubo and, the number 8 in the right wing, who was going to maybe potentially play there. Kubo or Cruz, and Barriel and Kubo, I think, could have been right wing. So I think that was the question marks. So,
yeah. Bill, surprised?
Nope. Exactly what I expected. So, I mean, like Ken said, Loca probably would have got the start just from a sheer dollar amount being spent to see what he could do for us. With him coming off of injury, Harris got the nod. I think Kubo, Stom's locked in on him as an 8 right now. I think that's an interesting experiment. We'll have to see how that goes. I know Jeff said he wasn't real impressed with him, meaning Jeff Wallner, not Jeff Birding. But I think that he was maybe better than I thought he was with Chicago. I was definitely concerned after Chicago, but he dipped out pretty quick for me, as did some other players. After 12 minutes, some players sort of vanished, and that didn't help us much. But no, that was pretty much what I expected as far as the lineup.
Were you surprised, Jeff, that? And again, I know that FC Cincinnati was getting absolutely peppered on defense, so the attack was not exactly existent late in the game. But we didn't see a whole lot out of Calvin Harris. And again, it's first game in Major League Soccer. I think we would all agree that that's okay. I guess I was expecting a little bit more from Locadia when he came on, and there just wasn't much.
Yeah, and wanted to touch on Calvin Harris first. My plan was to keep an eye on him early in the match, being that it was his MLS debut, yeah. And of course I became real quick. I was captivated with Lucho and Brenner and their movement and what they were creating, and kind of lost sight of Calvin Harris. And honestly, I didn't really notice Calvin Harris in that match, which is why I made it a point to ask Stom about him after the game. And Yap was just said that it was just difficult, making his first start in that environment as a young player, but he was pleased with the way he played. So, in regard to Locadia, didn't look really comfortable out there. Obviously he's got the thigh issue that's been hampering him for a little while. He had the one poor clearance that Titone wasn't wasn't pleased with. The one that dropped for Liao for his cross shot. Moment of quality, whatever it was, that dipped in the top corner. But yeah, he could have done. It was kind of I think it was a header. Didn't he try to? He cleared the ball with his head there, and it dropped to Liao, who was able to control it and off the volley score, unfortunately. So, but yeah, Locadia, he just wasn't able to get into the match. Now, of course, he's coming in at, what was it, the 61st? Was it the 61st minute?
It was late,
yeah.
60-ish.
And
late,
obviously,
but yeah. And obviously it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get up to fitness. So that's what I was looking for. Really, nothing in the starting lineup really surprised me. I was really just looking to see if Locadia was going to be fit, and they ended up going with Calvin Harris. So
yeah, not surprised. Yap mentioned it during his press conference on Thursday last week that there was still a lot of questions regarding Locadia's fitness and whether or not he would make the trip to Nashville. Not surprised one bit that Calvin Harris started this match. But I guess the biggest thing, and again, a lot of fans have a reason to get excited because FC Cincinnati scored 2 goals, and they scored 2 goals in the first freaking half. I mean, they scored 2 goals in the first half all last season. Now, I know they only scored 12 goals. 2 of them were in the first half last year. That was it. So they did that in 12 minutes. So from an attacking standpoint, Bill, there's a lot to be excited about. I mean, look, they showed they can put the ball in the net.
Yeah, 100%. And that goal from Acosta was just pure quality. I mean, just the pairing between him and Madeira, the way he just rolled that basically over his over the keeper, basically. I mean, it was almost it was just beautiful to see. So, that kind of quality we haven't seen on this team for a while. I think it's going to be fun to watch Acosta all season long. I like Brenner's hustle. I like the fact that he's always in there looking to pick up a ball from Acosta or whatever. So I'm excited by that pairing. I was disappointed in Harris and Barriel. Those 2 wings, I have more expectations from them. And part of what I'd like to see is Acosta. I know he's not been used to being in a role of a leader, but he's the captain, at least at the moment. And to me, he needs to bring up those 2 players. So Harris and Barriel are young. They have a lot of upside, a lot of potential. And this is an opportunity for Acosta to really bring them into this fold and to get them involved. And I didn't see as much of that as I would like to see. I'd like to see that front 4 working as a solid unit. And then I think we'll score even more goals. So,
yeah. And by the way, that pass, Matarrita to Costa was beautiful.
Yeah. Perfectly weighed. And that's something we haven't seen from our backs for a while. And not to pick on him, but Zhao was played in as a wing back for us last season. And one of the things that we lacked was quality getting into the box. He's wonderful at getting up there, and the same in this game. He's threatening. He gets up. He's fast. He forces defenders to push him outside, but he seems to struggle to find that final decision that makes him dangerous. And Madeira has just got that little extra bit of quality. So hopefully, those 2 will, or maybe Madeira can kind of give Zhao some pointers and kind of get him to understand some choices he could have made.
What did you guys think of Madeira? Because I went into this match with high expectations, and yes, the assist was great, but it felt like there were a couple times he got caught out of position way up the pitch. Now, granted, I know that's not all on him if the guys are losing possession, but there's some liability there on if he is getting caught too far forward. And then what do you make of his performance on Saturday night? One of you?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we kind of knew that about Madeira. I mean, that's something that we were warned about when we did some homework on him, is that he likes to get involved in the attack. He likes to bomb forward. He's going to create opportunities for us, but he will be a liability on defense at times because he'll get high up there. And that's something I actually was thinking about this before this show. I would love to go back and look at the game a little bit more and think about it. now that it's kind of in my head, but I feel like Harris, maybe part of him being quiet was that Madeira was coming forward and he was, fulfilling some defensive roles to kind of fall back at times, which is okay. I think Lacadia, I don't see him sitting in as well defensively. And it seemed like that was part of an issue was later in the game when Madeira would go forward, he'd be miles ahead. And then it just seemed like that whole left side for us was just open. And we had some real issues there. But
I think Madeira was, this is going to sound crazy, and I know people are going to call me crazy. He's probably the second best player on the match for us outside of Teton. And I'm not saying I know Lucho and Brenner scored and they deserve it all. I'm just saying from a complete standpoint and impact on the match, he was there defensively enough. He provided stuff offensively. I thought he was able to show enough. That's a big thing. Is Brenner wasn't. He didn't have the time on the ball to be able to do enough to really say he impacted, in the way that you want. I know that he got the penalty kick, so don't anybody jump on me for that aspect. I'm just saying, I thought, as Bill said, Madeira was what we expected. He's going to get caught forward a little bit, and Zhao's going to be learning on the right-hand side. It goes right back. It funnels right into my number one question is Hagelin, Pedersen, the center back combo that you really, really want? And I'm pretty sure we're all going to say no, but what are we doing to fix that? That's going to be my question for Gerard. If you're listening,
I don't blame a back for getting forward and being caught. I mean, that's part of when a back gets into the attack, right? I mean, he is exposing that part of the field. If the team turns over the ball, then he's just out of position. And the reality is that the team has to be prepared for that because it's going to happen. So I think that's not unexpected and it's not a bad thing. I mean, obviously he needs to hustle to get back, but at the same time, there will be turnovers while our backs are attacking. And if our expectation is for the back to run all the way back there and get that guy, we're in trouble because, the rest of the team needs to be aware of that and they have to have shifted and basically be ready to respond to a potential turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point there should have been more. You wanted to see some sustained spells of possession, and they just couldn't. Yeah. They just couldn't get it. But that's what you needed, especially in the second half. You needed to string some passes together, and they couldn't do that. So, and that's not any one player's fault. It seemed like it was everyone. And then you're leaving. And then that was my concern going into the match. I didn't expect 37 shots or whatever it was. I didn't expect.
Wasn't it like 32 crosses?
Yeah, I didn't expect the onslaught that we got. What I thought Nashville, if they were going to get goals, it was going to be because we were going to lose the ball. That was a concern. And then we were going to leave Pedersen and Hagelin out on an island, and they were going to counter, and they were going to smash and grab. Yeah. That's not really how it played out, but I was concerned about losing the ball in dangerous areas, and we did it continually.
Yeah, I think, and I kind of said it all off season, right? Like they're going to concede goals. I mean, that's where they're kind of at the moment with this roster. They're going to concede goals. And I'm fine with that, but I just want to be entertained. So for me, at least it was somewhat of an entertaining game, right? They scored 2 goals.
Somewhat.
I mean, if we're getting 2-2s every game, I'll take that over 3-0, 4-0, which is what we've had for the past 2 seasons, right? So get me off my seat, which they did. So I'm happy with that. Would I have liked 3 points? Absolutely. But at least they put the ball in the net and got me excited. So I'll take that. We did get this question from Stephen Wood on Twitter. He says, even after just 1 game, Kubo doesn't look like the answer for an already depleted midfield. Shouldn't Stam put Cruz in? Zhao made mistakes, but midfield control could help his development faster with less damage from mistakes. We kind of touched on Kubo at the 8 a little bit. Ken, they had a pretty good 8, and he's not here.
Yeah, this is because Bill brought it up. Madeira goes forward, and he's going to be caught up forward a little too much. And the Camo then drops into the center back role, and Pedersen pulls out wide to fill in Madeira's spot.
Yep.
Who that now you need the 8 to be a destroyer at that point in time. Kubo's not that. This goes right back to, and I know everybody's going to hate this, is Frankie Amaya. When they said we were building this team around Frankie, this is the situation in which Frankie was needed, is the guy to be able to cause a little bit of havoc, get the ball when there is havoc on the backside, and we can get it to his feet. He was great in traffic, really. He could turn, and he didn't do a great half turn, but he could turn and get it out of a tight spot and free us up. Again, I'm not lamenting about, Frankie, we should have kept Frankie. I'm just saying,
I think that ship sailed.
Yeah, it has sailed. But my point is that move has put this team into a bad position, because now all of a sudden we are stuck with Kubo, and we do need to see what Alan Cruz can do, because Alan Cruz is one of my favorite players. But we need to see what he can do, because Kubo's not going to be the guy that can destroy plays and break up stuff coming back the other way, if that's the way we are expected to play.
So why aren't we seeing Cruz there? Go ahead, Jeff. What was your question?
No, I was just going to mention that I was just wondering, well, was Frankie, the role that you're describing, Ken, was Frankie willing to do that role? Because Yop has made it pretty clear that Kubo was willing to do that role, and that's what he was asked to do, and he's in there, and he took kind of a subtle jab at Frankie by saying that Kubo was willing to do what they were asking of him. It doesn't sound like Frankie had other plans for.
Well, we'll see what happens in New York, right, with him, because if they put him at the 10, I think they're going to struggle. Yeah. If that's what he wants to play, if that's what the goal was, I'd love to be a fly on the wall and see what was really transpiring in Frankie and his agent's minds. So,
well, not to go on a tangent about this, but I'm just absolutely baffled, to be honest, that Frankie Amaya is still on FC Cincinnati's roster, and this transaction is not complete. If this transaction is going to happen with New York, why is this not complete?
He's actually off the roster, off of the MLS page.
He's still on FC Cincinnati's website.
He's on FC's site, but he's not on the MLS site.
Yeah, and he was not on the roster on the game notes that were distributed prior to the Nashville match, which is really unusual, really, really unusual to remove a guy off a roster when a transaction has not occurred. It was strange enough for him to just kind of disappear from training and obviously no longer be a member of the team, and no one has an explanation. Okay, is he hurt? Is he released? Is he traded? And we're still sitting here. How long's it been? It's been a few weeks, right? Yeah, Frankie Amaya has been essentially not a member of FC Cincinnati for a few weeks, and we have not yet had an official transaction. It absolutely blows my mind. So, not to get on a tangent about that, but it makes no sense.
That's so MLS.
Yeah.
Well, as I say, there's been a lot going on with Frankie. This whole thing was a really weird situation to have a coach so high on a player and talking about building a team around them, and then they went out, and it seems to me like there's been talk about him wanting to renegotiate his contract. I don't even understand what that means, to be honest. To me, you sign the contract with MLS, you don't sign it with FC Cincinnati, so. When he goes from FC Cincinnati to New York, I don't see how his contract really changes, especially for a Generation Adidas player. I mean, it seems to me like he committed to MLS for 3 years. So I'm not sure what's going on there. It seems to me like he's got something in mind, and it's not. It's causing things to slow down.
And like back to the original question about Alan Cruz, I think it's probably time for maybe a little bit more information, for the lack of a better word, from Yop in regard to what his plan, how his plan for Cruz has evolved over time to where it is now, because it's obvious that he's not a big part of what Yop wants to do, but. We're not allowed. Media hasn't been allowed in training, obviously, since before last season. So we don't have the ability to see who's involved, how involved they are. We don't have those opportunities for those one-on-one discussions with Yop or other people involved with the team to kind of find out. But more and more fans are asking what is going on with Alan Cruz. But it's obvious that Yop just does not have this. He doesn't feel the same way about Alan Cruz that a lot of FC Cincinnati fans seem to feel about Alan Cruz. And I don't know why that is, but it's obvious he doesn't. He doesn't have the same opinion of Cruz as a player as a lot of other people seem to. So, yeah, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Yeah, I don't understand it either because, again, and I know a lot of folks are fans of Cruz's because of what happened back in 2019, right? I mean, he was the leading goal scorer for FC Cincinnati that year. Now, I don't know if that's something you want to hang your hat on. I mean, I don't know if he only had 6 goals that year, but still, I just don't understand why. Yeah, you're right. I would love to know what his thinking is there and why it's not an experiment he's worth or willing to show. Now, there was a name this offseason that was in camp training with Kyle Scott. I mean, I don't know if he could have been that guy, but that would have been nice to utilize that. I mean, he probably could have filled that 8 role as well. So we'll see. Marshall on our Facebook chat, he asked this question. I think this is a fitting question considering the rumored GAM that's going to be coming for the Frankie Amaya trade. What would be on your acquisition wish list at this point, given the new winger and center back coming in? That's a great question. Do we need an 8? Do we need a 6? Like, do we need more center backs? Like, where are we going?
We still need a center back.
Yeah.
On top of Viacia coming in, huh?
Absolutely. I think what we lack right now, and we saw that in this game, is we do not have a leader in the back. We don't have that center back who can organize the back line and get it working effectively as a single unit. It's not to say that the players that are back there are poor players, but we are lacking leadership. And I think Viacia is too young. I think we need a veteran back there, not 30-year-old veteran, but somebody with some experience who can take charge of that back line and get people working as a whole, not as individuals, basically long balling it out of the back and hoping that they don't score a goal.
I completely agree with Bill. I'm in the church of Bill right now. I think Viacia is actually a great pickup at center back, young, fast. I haven't seen his passing, but I mean, everybody talks about his passing, which that's amazing, but I don't think he's going to have the leadership skill. And if we can pair him up with another senior center back, maybe a domestic, I don't know, that would be an amazing transformation of the back line to me. And then come summertime, going back to the question, if Loca leaves, maybe you get a designated player 8, I'm not sure. That seems to be, I mean, a DP destroyer would be amazing to have. So
could they, in theory, bring Kyle Scott back? I mean, the transfer window is not closed in Major League Soccer, right?
In theory, yes, but I feel like we burned the bridge.
Yeah.
So I think that I think he was here. I think we had interest in him. I think that the roster situation at the moment that we had to make our decision was such that we couldn't give him the kind of money that he was expecting.
But that was pre-Amaya. That was pre-Amaya trade.
I understand, but you lowball a guy and that's how he feels now. So I just don't, you call up and say, hey, we offered you $10 and, now that the other guy's out of here, we'll give you 100. Yeah. I mean, we've already got a bad taste in his mouth, I think, at this point, but yeah, it's possible. Never say never, but.
I don't know how to say this name. I'm going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. We did get this suggestion in the chat. Alucard Romeo. I'm butchering that name.
Just
he says right back. I mean, I know it's going to be an experiment with Joe Jowett right back. It's no secret. It's a new position for him. He's willing to try it. At least he was willing to try it. I mean, again, it's only one game. He's going to get better, I would think. At least I hope. I don't know. I just think that Saturday night was not it was not a good matchup for FC Cincinnati, and it's not all on the right back spot. Could we go that route?
We could.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good use of the roster situation just from a senior level spot. Your impact players that you always want are along the spine, as they call it. So, your 10, your 6, your center backs, and your 8, a destroyer 8. So those are the spots that you really want to make sure you're fortified in. I think we have sort of made our bed with Joe Jow right now, and I'll be the first. I'll stand up here and I will eat crow all day long. I said to try Joe Jow at right back, and if it doesn't work, go ahead and say, Ken, you called it. You're wrong. I'll own that, but I do think it's worth of the shot to let him grow and be. I'm going to say it the next to Marcus Beasley.
Hey, I mean, look, it's one game. It's one game. I still think if you watch that game, I think a lot of the guys were gassed. I don't know how match fit they seemed. I saw, but it wasn't just FC Cincinnati. The games I watched this weekend, a lot of players looked.
Teton was match fit.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. But Jim brings up a great point in the chat as well on YouTube. He says they absolutely targeted Jow in that side over the weekend. That first goal was a misplay by Joe, not holding the edge of the box. I think that first goal was an issue before it even got to Joe Jow, but that's neither here nor there. He's right though. I mean, they did attack that side pretty heavily, and that's pretty much going to be the game plan going forward until FC Cincinnati can show they can stop it. And maybe that means, I mean, what can you do?
Tonga.
I was gonna say, you're gonna have to put somebody at right wing that is gonna come back and help. And I don't know if Barriel's that guy. I don't know if Harris is that guy.
Or the right wing is so much a threat that the Daniel Lovitz can't come forward and and overload Joe Jow to where Joe Jow's having to make a decision to who to cover. And that's the part that everybody struggles to, and doesn't see is there is a thing that, he has to understand how that dynamic works from a defensive standpoint. He needs to be tighter to the guy. That was his biggest, and I won't say it's the biggest flaw. That was one of the larger flaws that everybody could see is he just gave everybody 5 yards of space because he didn't want to concede, and he needs to learn to be a little more aggressive and understand he's got the sideline as an additional defender, as I always call it. Yeah. And if he's going to get beat, he can kind of slide and take the ball out and take the guy out and go to the ball goes out of the end line and he resets. So I think there is growth factor. Is it going to work out? I don't know, but I'm just saying Tonga would provide some cover from the completely opposite aspect of having to be worried about him. Because if Tonga gets free and Brenner's up top, if Brenner's up top with Tonga running free, Walker Zimmerman would be with his eyes bugged, freaking out. Who do I take? So, I mean, come on.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, though. FCC fans, get in touch with us. Feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. We appreciate Rhinehouse for their support of the show, as always. Before we wrap things up, I wanted to kick it back over to Jeff. Again, you were there. You watched Brenner get his first goal for FC Cincinnati. I'll tell you what, for those of you who are watching us live tonight, if you were joining us, if you joined us Saturday night for the watch along, there were probably 30 people in Brazil tuned into our stream because they couldn't watch the match there, wanting updates, and they were into it. So that's pretty cool, knowing that we've got a Brazilian contingent of fans down there that are excited about following Brenner here. In fact, again, I don't know how legit this was, but there was even a person in the chat who said they were a Sao Paulo player. Hey, yeah, maybe, right? You just never know. But what did you make of the match as far as Brenner goes, Jeff?
I thought he was impressive, and obviously he kind of disappeared a little bit as the match wore on, but that was just kind of the nature. That was just the direction that match was headed in, and FC Cincinnati could really never get things kind of back under control from that standpoint. But love his movement. I mostly love what he does when he doesn't have the ball at his feet. I love that if he loses the ball, he's immediately eager to get it back. He's aggressive. I think I called him a pest during the game on Twitter, but that's the best word I could come up with. He is all over the place. He's quick on the ball, but it's just his movement, and he's always looking to find create some space for himself, create some opportunities. He's an exciting player. And anytime you can get a 21-year-old Brazilian striker, you're in a pretty good situation. And obviously he and Acosta and the relationship that they have, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch, because Lucho has brought it up on a couple of occasions, just how he's kind of taken Brenner under his wing because he's the one who's got the MLS experience. He knows this league. He's a veteran guy, and he's taken Brenner kind of under his wing, and you can see already, well, you could see in the preseason kind of that partnership starting to develop. It's really exciting, and it's just a matter of getting all these other pieces together. And last year, it's funny that we're kind of, it seems like we kind of flipped the script a little bit, right? Because last year they had 7 clean sheets. They had 4 scoreless draws. The problem was scoring goals. In most of the matches, the problem wasn't really allowing a lot of goals. Jaap Stam kind of said, look, this is my first order of business, is to take a team that allowed an MLS record number of goals the previous season and stop doing that. So you feel like that as time goes on over the course of a 34 match season, they're going to kind of figure out things on the defensive end, because that's kind of what Jaap Stam knows. But man, yeah, Acosta and Brenner, and if you can just create some other opportunities from some other players, you've got some goals. There's definitely some goals in there. Or if anything, just a fun club to watch.
Oh, for sure.
So.
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier. Like, to me, I got up off my seat. I was excited. What did you make of Brenner's performance, Bill? First game in Major League Soccer for the young guy. Again, a lot of attention because of the hefty price tag, but I thought, he didn't disappoint.
No, absolutely not. And the PK, successful. So that's what you want to see. He obviously drew the foul that resulted in the PK. I think Jeff's, what do you say? Description is pretty accurate. That he was a pest. He did what we expected him to do early on, and then he kind of faded out of the game. And I don't blame that on him. I mean, the disappointment for me really was just that the team essentially decided to bunker down, whether that was through Stom or through just their own sort of gameplay decisions. But they bunkered down. We moved from sort of a 4-3-3 into like a 4-5-1 and just pulled all the midfield back, and just left Brenner on an island out there. And there was so many times where, we'd hit a ball over the top, center back would get the ball, and essentially it was Brenner against 2 center backs. There was nothing for him to do. I mean, he'd run to one center back, they'd pass it to the other. He'd run to the other center back, and they'd return the ball. And they'd literally just pass the ball back and forth around Brenner and walk it up to the half line and then come after us again and just leave Brenner out of the game. So, I mean, having him two quality center backs who knew how to work together basically meant Brenner was kind of a lost piece. So disappointing.
Yeah, I would say so. He only had 28 touches all game long. That was probably the most disappointing. And the goal that he got was purely on hustle. So I don't think it's an expectation for us to expect that kind of manner of scoring from him. I mean, he'll do that stuff, which is what I said I love about him. This guy is going to press. We just need to learn how to support him in that pressing mechanism from the forwards back. So I think I was mostly disappointed that he only got 28 touches. And as Bill said, not by any fault of his own. He is not a hold up 9. So he is not going to body up anybody to maintain the possession. So I would have loved to have seen Locum or now I can't even think of Brandon Vasquez maybe partner up there and go into like more of a 4-4-2 and at least have one of them that they could hold up and one of them could, then Brenner could run off of that guy and maybe create some chances. But that wasn't the game plan. So that's my thought.
Again, first game, still young. I know it was a penalty kick, but at least he earned the penalty. So I'll give him credit there. I'd like to see a little bit more from him. I'd like to see a little bit more from Acosta as well. I would have thought that for as much as they were bunkering and trying to counter, that's where I thought Acosta and Brenner would have thrived. And Nashville did a good job of kind of neutralizing those two. You neutralize those two, and then you need guys like Calvin Harris to prove it. You need guys like Alvaro Barrial to prove it. We didn't really get anything from either one of them too. So a lot of times I honestly forgot Barrial played because again, I don't remember him doing much during that match. But I don't want to be doom and gloom here. I don't want to be Debbie Downer. A point on the road against Nashville, we will absolutely take it. If you would have said before the match that FCC would get a point on the road, I think we all would have taken it for sure, without a doubt. So we'll see what happens. Again, game one, right? And look, the history between these two clubs is ties. I mean, that is what it has been since day one with Nashville. So who knows? Maybe later this year, FC Cincinnati can get past that and actually win a game, not on a technicality, but win a game against Nashville SC. Don't forget, support the show. Head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/shop. Jeff Wallner sporting the original CST shirt tonight. Of course, I've got the Ken Hetker Demand Better. I knew Ken was going to be on the show tonight, and I just wanted him to see himself throughout the night. And so, yes, hashtag Demand Better. It applies even more after a Saturday night, right, Ken?
Yeah, it doesn't look pretty, just like the shirt, but we got the job done. So.
Oh, that's so great. Again, go check it out. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/shop. Get your shirt today. Also, hey, we didn't get any new ratings and reviews this week. So get it on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/Apple Podcasts. Leave your rating and review. And I'll tell you what, the next Apple Podcasts review that mentions a 4-way onion and 2 cheese conies will get a free CST shirt courtesy of myself here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Head on over to, again, Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. All right, gents, that hour flew by pretty quickly, and it's always fun when we can actually talk about soccer being played on the pitch. Jeff, we appreciate you going down to Nashville and covering it for us. You got any final thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, just how nice it was to be in a stadium with fans. Now, most of them were wearing gold and black, but that's okay. It was nice when, they scored that first goal and you hear that roar of the crowd, and it almost was kind of startling because you just haven't heard that. So it was awesome. And it was also really cool to, for my other story, for CST to talk to some fans outside the gates at the Nissan Stadium, some FC Cincinnati fans, and, just hear their perspective about the fact that not only was it the first FC Cincinnati game they had seen since before COVID, it was their first sporting event for all of them as well. So they were literally walking into a stadium for the first time since pre-COVID, and you could just see the excitement and the anticipation. So very cool. So obviously we have a lot to look forward to with the West End Stadium opening up soon. So great experience overall. And as I was saying before the show, I think that's a match that, you don't have to give the point back. And over the course of a 34-game season, anytime you can get a result from a match where maybe you didn't deserve it, according to the numbers, you take it and run, and you just build off it. So hopefully that's what FC Cincinnati will do.
I love it. Go check out Jeff's work over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Jeff, appreciate you as always, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Ken Hetker, final thoughts? You're muted. See, I knew it was time to wrap up. He's tired. He's ready to go.
I was just saying, I don't really have any final thoughts.
Demand better, Subs.
Yeah, exactly. I need to buy somebody a shirt. So, yeah, I'm just excited for the season to start. It's nice to watch soccer, as Jeff even stated, and have a rooting interest and feeling like, not that we weren't a part of the season last year, but that we can be a part this year. I mean, we were all talking about what's going to be the pregame situation, sort of, and that all will come about. But just seeing that fans are going to be able to be around one another is something to be excited for. So I just can't wait for the season to move forward and FCC get better, and that's about it. Man.
Hashtag demand better.
Yeah.
Appreciate you,
Man.
Kenneth.
Thanks.
And last but certainly not least, the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, final thought?
Oh, yeah. So good to sort of dust the rust off the drumsticks a little bit. It was a rough practice today, but several of the drummers got together and we started to run through some of the chants. And I've been to the stadium a couple of times and brought my drum and pounded out some licks or whatever, but it was not the same thing to actually have the capos and the bass drums and everybody trying to actually play something together, and trying to remember what the heck we used to play 2 years ago. So it was interesting, but it was good. It was good to see some people. I think most of us are fully vaccinated now, so we're starting to get confident to get out a little bit more and be around each other and start to try to remind ourselves what we used to do, and hopefully we won't have quite as rough a start as FC Cincinnati had, and 12 minutes of great drums and then we fall apart. But yeah, it should be good. I'm looking forward to May 16th, and we're gonna make a lot of noise and it's gonna be fun.
Absolutely. Bill, as always, appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you. It's always great to be here.
My final thoughts as we get out of here, I would be remiss if I did not mention the fine work that Mr. Razzle Dazzle, Boston Brazzle, and Brad Weigel do with March to Match Day. Make sure you get subscribed to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, wherever you get your podcasts, so you can check out March to Match Day. They will be previewing this week's match with NYCFC. And so, again, make sure you check that out. And, of course, Talking Tactics with Coach Goff. Coach, he was pretty excited. And so he'll be breaking it down this week on the podcast as well. So make sure you get subscribed to that show and leave a rating and review for that podcast as well. Coach does a great job with that, as always. All right, that is going to do it for episode 248 of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. My thanks to the Professor Jeff Wallner, Mr. Kenneth Hetker, and the Wolfman Bill Wolf. I'm Super reminding you to watch your tackles. FCC fans, we will see you all next week.